Japan's presence in motor racing is almost as old as car racing itself, and with the rich history of Fuji Speedway in both Honda and Toyota, today's Velocity Online Racing SF23 series harkens back to the early days of open wheel, but with a much more modern machine. Welcome to Fuji and round 2 of the VOR SF23 series with the Dallara Super Formula. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Finian DeCuna today for our second round of the season. Round 1 was all the way up in rural Wisconsin near Elkhart Lake, but now we take a trip across several oceans to Japan, Finian, where this series is right at home.
I was going to say, we're here right at home with this series. The land of the rising sun is very fitting, having the Super Formula Series cars at Fuji Speedway, one of the most historic tracks. I would say almost the definitive historic track for Japan. It's hosted many different rounds across many different series, including Formula One. So this is going to be some fantastic racing. These cars are extremely quick around here. You almost forget how quick these cars are, almost getting closer to Formula One speed. So I can't wait to see these guys get on track and prove what they got.
Here's a look at the season points. After round 1 last week, it was a dramatic tail end of the race. Julian Altena passed a handful of drivers that got into a tangle late in the going, and Altena Autosport leads the way, and kind of a sister team there, Altena VDVR Autosport in second with Tijn van de Velde about 6 points back from P1. Patrick Silvazzi ended up in third after that. Hunter Smith and Alaric van de Bos, who will not be here today, round out your top 5. But that first race was fairly dramatic, Finian, but slightly smaller field today, so things can only go so bad, but they can also only go so good.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing, too, to see where everyone ends up here, because Fuji's a very technical track, especially Sector 3. You're looking at it right there. A lot of stop and start corners up and down through the hillside, so it's going to be very difficult for these guys. Throttle control is going to be absolutely key around here.
Yeah, I never look at the weather here. I forgot. One of the things I did forget to do is change everything over to Celsius and all the metric units, because that makes more sense for this. But it is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, 97 on the racetrack, so not as hot as it could be, but not necessarily cool either. 66% humidity, just a slight breeze out of the southeast. Should be a good day for racing in our 28-lap GP of Fuji here. As we head down to the racetrack in just a moment for qualifying, it's already underway, and let's see, Patrick Silvazzi, currently the quickest car on the racetrack. Pretty excited to get this one underway here, Finian. This series, we've kind of been looking forward to doing something with these cars, and Road America did not disappoint.
Yeah, I was going to say, these cars have quickly become a fan favorite for the short time they've been on iRacing. A lot of people have really come to this car, because I think it's been something we're missing, like we don't have a Formula 2 car. This is essentially the next best thing, and it provides such a unique challenge, but not being too incredibly hard like you would be dealing with a Formula 1 car. Here's Joseph Grijalva. There we go. I know we were just talking about this before I pronounced it. I started at the last second. They're working there in VR. And you can see his head turning constant, because you have to keep turning your head. Those apexes are essentially blind if you're on a single monitor, but with VR, you can see him turning his head all the way to find the right point to get onto the throttle.
Got a handful of onboards here today, including last week's winner, Julian Altena. He's currently third and just behind Grijalva on course right now, heading down this very, very long front straightaway. One of the unique features of this car is that it does not have adjustable gearing, and you will run out of gear at the end of this very, very long front straightaway.
Yeah, and you're going to expect this is going to be one of the primary passing points, especially with everyone getting in behind. You get that slipstream, potentially jump on the overtake system, and then using that extra power to make a pass down into turn 1. It's going to be the action point for tonight. And then you're coming back here, heading towards turn 3. This is such a tricky corner to get right. You can throw this car in really hard. You see right there, nails the apex, then coming back out, letting the car rest, and then the carousel here. A beautiful, beautiful corner.
Yeah, so Julian works his way through. This is such a fast racetrack. It's really enjoyable in pretty much any vehicle. And when this track came out, I don't think I really appreciated it, but it has such a long history. It's changed several times in several configurations, but one of the most challenging and maybe one of the least loved sections is this new final sector here, including this little chicane, which is going to be challenging, especially to control wheel spin and not get those curbs on corner exit.
Here's the thing, I will say, as a driver, I probably dislike this, but however, as much as I dislike it, it provides such a challenge. And when you can get this section right, the few times you may actually get this section right, it is very satisfying as a driver. And again, it can really make or break your lap here as the Altena come out of the final corner and then onto this long straightaway. We'll get a little bit of slipstream here to help him here in open qualifying.
And we'll sweep to drivers right there, and we'll complete a pass. And across the stripe, it is a 121.374, puts Altona back on top over Sebastian Ginder, who's going to return to the racetrack in the number 97 to go back out and maybe attempt one more quick lap here. Hamilton Akabueze was up front a ton at Road America, came up short in a dramatic crash late in the going, has not yet put down a lap time, and one might be concerned about that. Matthew Redford, however, up to second, only a 10th back.
A solid climb up here. He's got 3 minutes remaining, potentially 2 more laps left on the clock to see if he can try to improve on that 10th. It's so hard to find, especially when the times really start to get lower and lower. You're just fighting that car. Oh, he goes off the track a little bit there. That lap might be invalidated, so he might have to go around again. And that's really the tough thing you're pushing here. There's so many fast-flowing corners here. You just might push a little bit too far. You get that off track, and you have to go again. And he goes off track again there, loses it on the exit.
John Christensen out of Altona Autosport, teammate to the provisional pole sitter and last week's winner. Navigating through that chicane here. Love the focus on his face right now, sweeping through the last couple of corners. And 11 of the 15 entrants have put down times today. Now, every time we see, big slide there. Every time that we see slightly smaller fields, we tend to see also some more aggression, because it doesn't feel like there's as much to lose, and especially on the opening lap, as we saw at Road America, that can lead you into some trouble.
Oh, definitely can. And I mean, there is still a chance you can lose out here, because only a couple the bottom few drivers are going to still lose out on points. Only the top few finishers will be receiving points, so you can't quite risk it all. But that being said, like you mentioned, with fewer cars, it does mean you do have a higher chance of points. So we're going to see if guys are going to be a little bit more aggressive, especially on these opening laps, especially the first few corners, because it's very tempting. You see quite a few first laps incidents in that first sector.
Yeah, there's Dunlop corner on the binders now for one of the drivers. That's Tyne van de Velde. Nope, that is Silvazzi. Yes, it was in the number 17. Came up third place at Road America last week. And let's see where Hamilton Akabueze finds himself on his second lap. First lap down, a 121.990. Actually, this is lap 4, so he's had a couple runs at it, but only one valid lap. That might show you that this is going to be a bit more challenging in the way of track limits this week. That was not so much an issue at Road America, because if you go off track there, your day is essentially over.
Okay, yeah, and a lot of these corners are very deceptive. It's so tempting to get back on the power early on, and I think that's what we're seeing drivers do. They're just getting a little bit too quickly on the throttle, especially through this section right here, this tricky chicane there. I think you went almost a little bit too on the curbs there. Might have invalidated his lap here, but then you're coming through here, this right-hander. Car stepping out back a little bit, end up sliding. And then right here, again, so many blind corners. That's the tricky part to set up. If you're not in VR, it's a very tough time around here.
Yeah, there's a lot of very tight apexes, but mostly later in the lap as Matthew Redford goes to provisional pole here in the final moments of asking. And as far as lap times here, we'll also get a look at the different makes and models, both Honda and Toyota represented, and pretty equally split there inside the top 10. Redford in a Honda, Altona in a Toyota, and Hamilton Akabueze goes up to a third place, 121.470.
Always like to see some manufacturer diversity, especially after looking at the Area Cup Series, and it's literally become a Chevy spec series at this point.
Yeah, wait till Chevy introduces their new Super Formula. Adam Capps, Mauro Ramirez, Paul Irvin, the only drivers that have not yet put down lap. Is Adam Capps the same Adam Capps that I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
Paul Irvin certainly is. We've seen him around on SimTV and other places. Checkered flag is waving. Matthias Strauss in the number 8.
Yeah, shout out to Paul Irvin, because I did not expect him to be a fan of this type of racing, but props to him. He's also racing in the IndyCar Series that VR runs, so I was racing against him yesterday in that, and he's running in the SF23, so I definitely expect him to be good on the road courses in a stock car. But Matthias Strauss coming out of the final corner, and the final time he can complete his lap, will it be good enough to jump him from the midfield beneath?
Average speed displayed there on the bottom. See what Strauss can do this time through. 120.753. Well, it is his best lap, but by just a little bit. It won't bring him up any more positions as he locks it down, and we'll return back to the pit lane here in the final moments of asking. Hamilton Akabueze to the top in the last moment.
Ooh.
And a 121.016 puts him on pole by 0.171.
Telling it's the Hello Kitty paint scheme and fields at home here in Japan.
Wow, that's impressive. and that will put him right on pole. Now, the start at Road America was equally as dramatic. So we have a quick look. Well, I was going to show you that, but it's going to tick over very, very quickly here. We had an interesting start at Road America because of some drivers not really getting a very good launch, and because of how narrow Road America is, they end up taking to the grass and diving out of the way. But this straightaway is so long, and under the shadow of Mount Fuji, you rocket down to Daiichi at turn number 1. And then you have effectively a hairpin corner. So this is going to be a very different start than I think we saw last week at Road America.
They're both Road America and Fuji, I think, have two tricky turn ones for two completely different reasons. I think for Road America, it's because the track is very narrow on the start, like you mentioned, with the pit lane wall and the grass to one side. It's very narrow. And then also, too, just heading into turn 1, it's not designed, Road America's not designed for a standing start. I don't think any series that races there normally does do a standing start. So it's a very flowing turn 1. Here, you're going to have a much wider turn 1, wider straightaway for these drivers to work with, so they have some room to work with. That being said, they have more room to fan out and make some dives, especially heading to the hairpin, bringing everyone to a stop. If you're in the back and you miss your braking point, you could be taking out a driver or two. So that's another tricky thing these guys have to work out for getting all these 15 drivers into one tight corner. Under
4 minutes from the start of the second round of the Velocity Online Racing SF23 series here on Sim TV, and make sure to subscribe if you're not. If you'd like to join this series, still actively accepting applications, and it's still early enough in the season that you can jump in and have a shot at the championship if you know what you're doing in these high-powered, turbocharged race cars. Let's talk a little bit about the passing system, Finney. We didn't really talk about it a whole lot at Road America, but something tells me with the very long straightaways here, we're going to be using that system a lot more.
Yeah, and it's very similar to, for those familiar with push-to-pass in IndyCar, well, with its modern incarnation. iRacing sells the old outdated version where it's only 10 uses. With the overtake system here in the SF23, these guys have 200 seconds to work with over the course of the entire race. Use it how you will, use it how you want. However, after you use it, the big caveat is that you have to wait another 100 seconds on a cooldown, which is almost an entire lap here, to use it again. So that's where it becomes strategic. You have to wait a while. You have to use it knowing that you're going to have to wait a while to get to use it again. And when you do use it, you can leave it on if you, for some reason, really wanted to. You can use the whole 200 seconds in the opening lap. You can use it for as much as you want.
Yeah, so that adds an extra strategy component here, but with the long straightaway, I expect we'll see most of that deployed there. And with the light, did you talk about the light blinking?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so the way to identify if the drivers are using it or not, there's a green LED bar on the roll hoop for these drivers. You're going to see it right there. So when it's solid like this, that means the overtake system is ready to use. When they do use it on the straightaway, you're going to see it flash rapidly, and that means that the system is in use. You'll see the rain light on the rear end of the car that's currently not lit. That will be also flashing red rapidly. And when these drivers are in the cooldown stage, you'll see it flash slowly. So that's when you know that they're still waiting on a recharge.
So quickly flashing is in deploy, and slow flashing is waiting to recharge. So
yeah, you can see in the background the driver there, who was ever using it.
Judging by speed. Nope, not that car. Not that car either. Paul Irvin.
There we go, Paul Irvin.
So that is in deploy, and then
he's probably not going to do it because we're not in a race session.
Right. Yep. Big lockup down there. Let's talk about that. No ABS in these cars, as is common with most Formula cars. Locking up the wheels and spinning the wheels with the high power outputs and light weight of these cars. I expect that in the heavy braking zones to be a big deal, and also watch out for scraping the underbelly on those tall curbs on corner exit.
Yeah, that's the big thing too, is that these cars have a lot of power. You can't just simply get down on the power and hope the thing will stick. You got to really modulate that throttle. Be cautious with it. It's got 550 brake horsepower, these cars. You got to modulate, especially getting out of these tight, these slow corners, turns 1, and then really most of sector 3, especially coming out of here. These constant shifts left to right, you really got to get back on easy, otherwise you're going to find yourself spinning off the track.
So Hamilton Akabueze stole pole away in the final moments. Big wiggle there, leaving 100R. That was a big wild one. That's Coca-Cola curve. Oh, no, it is Coca-Cola.
This is 100R.
Yep, so that's see the logo there on the bottom.
You can see the Coca-Cola.
We might be in Japan, but the U.S. influence does not go away overseas, that's for sure. For better or for worse. You always wonder what the most recognizable American company is, and I'd have to bet it's somewhere between Apple and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I was going to say Coca-Cola is definitely up there.
So just 15 seconds until we're going to grid up the field. Standing start, which means we're going to start from a stop, effectively, and stagger up the field for a 28-lap race. Should take us about 40 to 45 minutes to complete. And Boise there's going to pull off as we get set to go racing from Fuji Speedway in Oyama, Japan. Kyle Heyer again alongside you with Finian Dakuna here today. Connor Horn filled in for Finian last week as Finian, you were coming back from India. But you're back, and you were as excited as I was to pick this series up and broadcast some Super Formula action. These cars were a hoot when they were released. Everyone was enjoying driving them, but to race them is something else entirely.
Really is. I mean, these cars have really taken a liking to most drivers in service. They're so fun to race. They're not impossible to race, and it also gives you a lot of power and a lot of tools to work with as well. So drivers absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see these guys get going here as we're gritting up here for the shootout.
Well, quickly running through the starting lineup there as the last couple of drivers take to the grid. Still waiting on Cedric Holmbaum. Julian Altena are the last two to take the grid here before we go racing at Fuji. And I said earlier, maybe 40 to 45. Try under 40 minutes with the high average speed that we're going to be seeing here this afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on Sim TV. Just 2 cars left to grid. Hamilton Akbueze is the pole-sitting machine. That's that pink car on the right of your screen. And then it's Matthew Redford that will start alongside. Here we go. Cedric Holmbaum did not grid for this one. He'll be missing out of 7th place. Grand Prix of Fuji for the Velocity Online Racing SF23 series is underway. Green flag flies, and we're racing in round number 2. A clean getaway for Akbueze, but Matthew Redford pulls up alongside on the run down to turn 1. Still side by side for 4th in the background. 3 wide in the middle. I think that's Christensen in the middle of all that, but they're going to woe it down, and they're through turn 1.
Yeah, Redford's still not giving up. They're still trying to get back on the power. Wasn't able to get quite the exit he would like as they head to Coca-Cola curve. He has to let up. Akbueze is going to lead out of turn 3.
And up onto the curbing, though. That's a dangerous place to be on lap number 1. So far, so clean as we were at Road America. One car's turned around. Paul Irvin spins at Coca-Cola curve. We'll check in on that a bit later as Akbueze tries to put some distance on Redford, Altena, and Tijn van de Velde.
He's going to try to set off into the sunset. Meanwhile, side-by-side, Craig Forsyth, Matthias Strauss, side-by-side in the background, racing it out for 6th place. Strauss going to get deeper on the brakes, and he will make it on through. A bit of a lockup, though, as everyone goes a little bit wide into the chicane for the first time.
And Joseph Grijalva also in this battle here, 9th place in the number 47, as Sebastian Kinder ahead of him in that bright yellow car. Started 11th, up 2 spots. And now chasing each other through this tricky and technical final sector here on the opening lap.
Yeah, that's going to be the key, though, as you're coming back onto the front straightaway here, getting back on the power. Vanderbilt, not as good of a release as he would have liked. Silvassi ahead of him is going to get just a slightly better launch away as everyone's going to come across the line to complete lap 1. Julian Altena already on the power and actually was using the overtake system to catch back up, is off it again. So a couple of people using it, a couple of people off of it. Battle is currying behind Strauss again.
Oh, Kinder locks it up into turn 1. Almost got into the back of Forsyth there in the number 99 as Strauss went on by, but managed to dodge it wide.
Yeah, that was, I think, Kinder. I think that was being on the power. Again, that's the big thing, is that when you use a push pass or overtake, you got to be careful and anticipate that you're going to be coming into the braking zone at a higher rate of speed.
Yeah, you're carrying another 15, 20 miles an hour maybe, so they can get you in trouble. Velda chasing Patrick Silvazzi. Well, we've got a moment. Let's go back and look at what happened to Paul Irvin on the opening lap. This was into turn 1, but a little farther up the road, entering Coca-Cola curve. This is just all on his own here. Turns in, cold tires. It's too much rotation too quickly.
Yeah, that's a big thing. They got to be very careful in turn 1 when these tires are the first few corners. These tires get cold. You got to get them up to temperature before you can really start to demand a lot from them and see some battling further down the order.
Yeah, John Christensen making a pass on Joseph Grijalva. Mauro Ramirez is in the red car in the background here. Christensen navigate final turn here at Fuji Speedway and up onto the front stretch. Get the power down. It looks like Ramirez got a bit wide there onto the front stretch. Got to watch out for those curbings. That could end your day here. Here comes Van de Velde on Silvazzi for 4th.
Ondo was using the push fast assist in that. The 17 Silvassi, he couldn't use anything because he used it the last lap. And that's, again, the trade-off you pay. When you use it, you're going to be under attack the next time around. You got to use it strategically. You see Strauss still battling with Craig Forsyth. These guys cannot get away from each other these opening laps.
No, they cannot, and it's going to be exciting. We saw a similar battle up front at Road America between Matthew Redford and Hamilton Akabueze, who got together late in the going after racing so cleanly for so long. It just came to a head, and they crashed and had very harsh feelings about it after as well. So I wonder if Forsyth and Strauss can avoid that. You just get tired of following the same guy for the entire race. I think Akabueze would like to leave no doubts today after the run that he had at Road America. And so far, leading by 1.9 seconds, but Altena is keeping him fairly honest, just 2 seconds back.
That being said, though, Altena's got to be watching in his mirrors. He's got Redford, Vanderwall, and Silvassi all in behind him, nose to tail. He's trying to catch up as much as he can. Redford can just follow in behind. Julian Altena is trying to use the overtake to get closer to Akabueze.
There's that green flashing light over the cockpit, and now it will go back solid to a slow blink rather as it recharges, so he'll not be able to use it for over a lap. Sebastian Kinder is on the button. Here he comes to the inside of Craig Forsyth. This is for 7th.
I heard him tacking out at the end of the straightaway, trying to go to the inside, get the move done. Going to try to force Forsyth a little bit wide. He will get the move done up to 7th.
Yeah, good pass there for Kinder. He's actually started, I think, 6th at Road America, fell back to 14th and managed to climb all the way back to 6th by the end of the race. Here's Matthew Redford closing in an Altena, now 3/10 back as they work their way through the middle sector here. Redford, very, very impressive. And did not use the button last time, but was able to close in an Altena regardless in the first sector of this lap.
Yeah, he's still keeping him honest. I think just using the slipstream trying to keep up. I think Altena is probably using the overtake more defensively, if anything, just trying to keep that 71 in behind while also trying to just keep up with Akabueze. He's really starting to set out here over 2.5 seconds up the road from the number 11 of Altena.
Yeah, he's looking very comfortable out in the lead right now, but is it going to burn up the tires? Is that something that he'll have to contend with? Sebastian Kinder is moving forward still, now closing up on Strauss in the number 8. They re-approach the front straightaway here. Let's see if he's back on the button or if he'll stay.
He can, because he's still recharging, but in behind him, here comes Craig Forsyth on the defense, or I should say on the rebound is more accurate to say, and actually jumped off it really quickly, only a couple seconds.
He canceled it. Redford had a swipe at Altena in turn 1. Swipe or no swiping, Altena hangs tight.
And interesting too for Redford, that was just purely from the slipstream that he caught up to Altena, trying to work around the outside, couldn't get the move done. As you see, that Kinder though is out in front of Strauss. Let's see what happened into turn 1.
Yeah, here's a look at it. Altena goes defensive here. Redford around the outside, pulled even with him into the braking zone. A little bit of a bobble there on the brakes, but was not able to complete the pass, but close enough.
Still going to follow him in now into the chicane. And this is again a tricky section for these guys to get back, left, right, left again, constantly back and forth. And again, you can lose a lot of time, you can make up a lot of time. So Redford is following in the tire tracks, trying to stay close in mind. Ooh, missed the apex there. You can see lost out on a little bit of time. Yeah, the track temperature is coming down as well, so that should bring the grip levels up. And Akabueze has just driven away 3.3 seconds clear of the next closest car, which is Julian Altena. And no incidents so far other than Irvin slipping backwards. Let's go back a few laps prior to Kinder on the brakes into turn 1. This was chasing a battle with Strauss and Forsyth, and just he's going to get into the brakes here a little bit too late with that extra speed he was carrying and just dodged the tailpipes of the 99. Yeah, but Kinder's been making some good moves. He's able to get by Strauss the last lap, and that was just purely on slipstream that he's able to work on. And now actually starting to break away from both of them. So Kinder's on the way forward, though. He's got 7 seconds and change to catch up to the second pack that we've been looking at: Altena, Redford, Vanderbilt, and Silvassi.
And then Strauss and Forsyth, their battle has not ended. It's just shifted back a couple of cars. They now are fighting for 7th place as we work lap number 6 of 28. And Akabueze's lead, it's beginning to fluctuate a bit. It was over 3 seconds, and now it's under it just slightly. So when Altena is clear of Redford and doesn't have any distractions behind him, he's able to keep pace with Akabueze. But we'll see if he's able to generally gain over the course of the race, or if it'll just be a slow bleed, slow burn for Altena to drop out of the lead.
Yeah, Akabueze too has not used overtake at all, even as a defensive. So he's got all 200 seconds left to use if he so chooses.
Number one in line, and you don't see any green blinks, which means no one's on the overtake system at the moment, conserving that for later use. There's Patrick Silvazzi at the back of the shot there in the number 17. Was perhaps a bit disappointed in the run at Road America, despite having a podium result. Told us in the post-race interview he didn't pass anybody. He just ended up third from the attrition ahead, but sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah, Craig Forsyth was able to get past Matthias Strauss on the straightaway, used the overtake, was able to do it before they even got to turn one. Showing how powerful that system is. But Strauss not letting him go.
Yeah, such high corner speeds through some of these sweeping corners. That was 100R, and then into the hairpin upcoming. Then Dunlop corner next. Here comes Strauss, another big run. Will he take a dive? Nope, he's going to be patient with it. Wait for a better opportunity with this over-under chicane here through turns 13 and 14.
Swede versus the Canadian.
Several countries represented here this afternoon. Got drivers from the Netherlands and Hungary and France and Sweden and Germany and Brazil and the U.S. of course.
I was going to say, American leading the field.
Yeah.
Here comes Matthias Strauss back on the overtake, and nothing Forsyth can do in defense.
Except tuck back in and maybe try to use, well, he's still on cooldown from the previous lap, and now Strauss is as well, so they're on even footing, but Forsyth's will come back online before Strauss's will.
So Forsyth will have it again, and with the way the timing works, so because it's 100 seconds of cooldown, they'll get clear, I think, after turn 3 in the middle of 100R. I think is around when they'll get the system back online. So for Forsyth, he's just waiting. He's like, yeah, I'll get you back next lap. Don't you worry.
And there goes the solid green, so he's back online, can use that system whenever he'd like. Silvazzi has gotten by Tijn van de Velde in the 76, so move Silvazzi up to 4th place. See the green light blinking over his roll hoop, so he's recently been on the button. And Van de Velde has not, so we'll see if he rebounds. There's some strategy as well to when you hit the button. Is that straightaway the only place that you could use it? Could you engage it a bit earlier, perhaps on the run down to Dunlop Curve, and then use it for the entire half lap? Will that change where your recharge point is, especially if you were to keep it on through maybe Coca-Cola Curve?
So here we go. Here he is on the button, and around he goes. You can see Silvazzi moving over, trying to take the defensive line to turn 1, but he's not even going to be anywhere close enough to get back in the 76 on through. Move back up into 4th. Although now they're with their little battling, starting to lose Altena and Redford.
And Redford is closing in on Altena just slightly, but doing a good job on defense here while trying to keep Akabueze in sight, but that might be harder than it seems. Look at Redford now, and Altena checking the mirrors, make sure Redford isn't filling them now. A good points week for Altena last week with that win at Road America. But Redford's going to have a run down here to Dunlop Curve. Here he comes to the inside and thinks better of it. Backs out. I thought he might take a lunge at it, Finian, but he's being patient.
He's being patient. I think he knows that there's bigger fish to fry. If he can just wait for this front straightaway, maybe he can have a better shot. That's really your best passing opportunity. I would say maybe other than coming out of 100R into that deep braking zone. So I think he's just waiting for a better moment to strike. That being said, though, Altena has some the overtake still left to use. So even if Redford uses it, I'm sure Altena will use that as well. He's been willing to use it quite a bit so far.
And here's the lead that Hamilton Akabueze's got in the 13. There's the advantage, 5 seconds back, as where you'll find Altena on defense from Redford. And then Van de Velde and Silvazzi battling for 4th place, but Redford closing in again, down to 3/10 back, but needs to find a way around. These two were pretty even on pace last week as well, but it was a track position advantage that Redford and Akabueze had early that kept them way out front.
Look at Akabueze. He only got 2 points out of last week, so going into tonight or this afternoon, if he can finish it out, he's looking at a really solid point total. Even Altena too, he's still looking at a really solid point total, even though he might not win the race. If he can just hang on a second, Big thing is if he can hang on to second, because Redford's been breathing down his neck since pretty much the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, and he's been very patient with making passes. He hasn't gone for a lunge, but is that just to build trust in Altona, where Julian's not going to stay on defense and allow the inside to be filled by Redford last minute, last moment? Still plenty of racing left to go, only working lap 10 of 28, but I wouldn't take that at face value. I think Redford's got some more planned on Altona here if he can't make the pass in the next few laps, because look who's coming. Van de Velde and Silvazzi are getting dragged back into this fight for second.
Yeah, I think Redford's hoping that Altona uses more overtake and, you know, puts himself in more of a disadvantage later on, and I think Julian knows that is on, and that's what Redford's going to be hoping for, is that he becomes a sitting duck later on. But down the straightaway here comes Redford, a massive slipstream to the inside, off he'll go, and Altona will let him on by.
Try to cross him over here, but not able to get the power down in time. So now defense must become offense, especially with the encroaching Van Velde and Silvazzi. Silvazzi was recharging the overtake system as they were on the front straightaway, so perhaps he had launched an attack on Van de Velde that didn't go anywhere, but looks like he is back recharged and ready to hit the button again.
Yeah, it seems like after the first 5 to 7 laps, seems like everyone's gotten a little bit off the button. I think because they're trying to just save it up later in the race, because I think everyone knows that later on the race, everyone's going to be jumping back on it to use more of it to make some overtakes later on.
Yeah, no pit stops and no refueling, so we're going to go this entire distance without a trip down pit lane, so every moment is critical here. Paul Irvin, remember his spin on the opening lap. He's on the button right now just trying to find some time, and he is making some of it. He's closing up on Jonathan Diggs and Adam Capps, but he's still got about 14 seconds to go before he'll get there. It is a lonely feeling to spin on lap 1 and have nobody left to race.
Yeah, I was going to say he's 14 seconds behind Jonathan Diggs, who's his next competitor, running in 4th place. So he's a bit in the middle of no man's land at the moment, but just getting some laps down here. And I don't think Had's had a major incident since the first opening lap incident.
He's been good since then. Redford. So now the question I have is he going to be able to eat into Akwaeze's lead? He was a little bit slower last time because I think he was engaged in that battle with Altona into turn 1 that cost him some speed, but maybe Redford can find some advantage. Right now he's a little bit purple on his lap pace, so maybe he can eat in. There's still about 20 minutes left in this race. 7 seconds is a big gap, but we did see it come down at Road America, maybe not quite as large as this, but Redford did get better in the second half of the race.
If he's going to make some sort of inroads, he needs to start now, and he needs to start taking out some decent chunks, though. Because he has some time, but I think he doesn't have a lot of time. And 7 seconds is a decent gap to make up, especially because we don't even know if Akwaeze is even pushing that hard. For all we know, he might be out on a Sunday drive up in front, just trying to maintain and manage the lead that he's got.
The Indy Alliance Racing, number 13, certainly looks calm, cool, and collected at the moment. And Akwaeze is probably owed one after the collision last week. And across the stripe, let's see what the lap time is. It is a 1:21.557, which is just 200ths off his best lap of the race.
Per second.
And here comes Altona.
Back on the charge, Altona trying to make the move here into turn 1, and actually not going to get on the brakes as deep. He's actually going to completely back out of it. A bit surprised by that. I guess didn't feel like he was confident enough in making it past Redford at the apex.
Like Interstellar, that little maneuver is going to cost you 84 years. They lost 2 seconds there to Akwaeze. 9 seconds back now after just being 7 seconds back. And Silvazzi has made this a 4-horse race for second place.
And if you're wondering, for the rest of the field, not a whole lot of battles going on. Some drivers close to one another, but this is really the meat and potatoes where most of the battle is going on. This battle for really 2nd to 5th.
Love this over-the-shoulder shot here of Silvazzi to watch him at work. And you can see the last lap that each car ran, other than Sebastian Kinder, who had a internet discontinuity there. The quickest car by far was the race leader, so that's one of those moments where the rich is getting richer and you just don't feel like you've got a lot of power to close that gap back up. But they need to kind of work together here. If they continue to try to pass each other, they're just going to lose time. Redford now has a bit more distance on Altona, Van de Velde, and Silvazzi. It might leave him enough space as John Christensen's got trouble in the number 44.
That morning it was just a spin out of the chicane. Wouldn't be too surprised. He's off and away. Ooh, is that hearing messed up? Oh, no, it's just the delay in zoom. I thought he was turning right to go straight for a second there.
And a look at what happened, he was already spun around here, so a bit further. It's all on his own. I'm imagining just gets a little bit of curbing right. No. Oh, yeah, we got the right sides on the curbs and throttled up a bit too much. And just a easy, simple spin, gets back rolling, but loses a few spots that will cost him some time.
Honestly, surprised I haven't seen more spins like that. So, well, one of the first ones he's seen. So he'll drop back a couple of spots as he's gone back in the right direction. Looking at this battle, it looks like Redford might have checked out, and I think this was a really good strategy call by him. I think he saw that he had a little bit of a gap to Altona, so he jumped on the overtake on the straightaway to just further that gap. It's now just about over a second, where he's almost, I would say, almost out of the clear.
Yeah, and even if Altona jumps on the button to reclose this gap, he's just going to end up wasting it, and he's going to jump on it, but I don't know that it's worth doing at this stage. I'd almost want to sit back for 2 or 3 laps, see if Redford is closing in on the leader. If he is, let him go get him and engage in a fight, but I don't know that just sticking with him is going to do you a lot of good as far as the overall race is concerned. Maybe they've given up on Akabueze and they're just going to fight amongst themselves, but there still is enough racing left that if you were to take out 3-4 tenths a lap, you could get back there, but that's quickly slipping away.
It's clearly slipping away for these drivers, and I think it's starting more in that mindset. Well, I might not be able to get first, but second is right up ahead of me, and I can clearly see them. So I think that's where guys like Vanderbilt, Salazzi, Altona, they're all looking at that, especially for Altona trying to get back to second place, where he was for quite a while.
And checking back in with Joseph Grijalva as well, from Fuego Autosport from the United States. Started this race in 10th, moved up 1 spot. He's kind of stuck in no man's land, 3 seconds back from Craig Forsyth and 5 seconds ahead of Mauro Ramirez, but running a bit slower than the 66, so he's going to have to find some speed before he gets swallowed up back into 10th place.
Yeah, one of the more lonely drivers, I would say, this evening, as he's, like you mentioned, in the middle of no man's land. I think he's just kind of hoping and praying that Forsyth Strauss run into some sort of issue. Even for Mateus Strauss, they've both fallen off Kinder ahead of Mateus Strauss. He's checked out almost 11 seconds up the road, but he's Sebastian Kinder, he's been trying to catch up to 5th place, but he's also 8 seconds back.
Is Grijalva wearing, is that like a neck massager, or is it like one of those haptic feedback devices?
I have no clue. I almost would have said it's another pair of headphones. That doesn't make any sort of sense.
No, I think it's either like a neck massager or it's some kind of gaming haptic device, which I've seen in a similar form factor, but
I'm almost wondering if it's like a vent or like a fan or something. Because you would adjust it.
I think the Grid Life videographer Creature is his nickname. He's got one of those. And I have to ask him what it does. Mauro Ramirez has had trouble, and he's spun out on the front straightaway.
Almost thought I saw another pop of smoke. He had some contact with someone else.
Pulls away. Let's see what happened here. On his own, and the number 66 turns in. Way out wide, and he's going to get up on the curbing and
that's class going. Ooh, and a decent lick to the wall. That might have ruined the left rear suspension, and it looks like he's going to be coming to pit lane.
Give Paul Irvin a shot at New Lease on Life here. He'll get out of 14th, and for the first time since the start of the race, he's a lap down, isn't he?
Is he a lap down? He is a lap down. Didn't realize that.
Because Akabueze's just gone by both of them. That's why. He has really put some incredible pace in. And despite a launch by Redford, who has been trying to get into that advantage slightly, he's still maintaining an 8.5 second gap.
And Alton has been doing a pretty decent job at keeping Redford in tow. Alton has actually kind of hiked out a little bit of a gap to him back to Vanderbilt in the 76. So they've all kind of started to spread out a little bit, 2nd through 5th.
Ooh, watch that curb hop there on the left for Altona. These cars, you can use a bit of curbing at apexes and things, but on exit in particular, you can high center them very easily. I've seen that, just saw that happen to Mauro Ramirez, who was going to call it a day. That car scraped the underbody on it as well.
Yeah, it just sounds ugly.
Yeah. But he You need to be as aggressive as you can with the inside apexes to make speed. Straighten out the exit so you can get back on power and put all the power to the ground. Left-hand side of your screen, intervals between one car to the next. And to give you a sense of where the Toyotas and Hondas are running in relation to each other. Nakabueze, 8.7 second advantage. Still making things look pretty easy out front.
Yeah, actually, second place are catching up to battle between Paul Irvin and Jonathan Diggs, the lap cars. So that might make things interesting. I can see Redford in the background catching up.
Jonathan Diggs is missing some body work.
Ah, that makes sense. I was wondering why he was so slow and off the pace. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, we're going to look at this in a moment because I think it was recently.
Ooh.
But I don't know that he's going to be able to defend much on Paul Irvin here.
No, there's really nothing much you can do. I'm surprised he's still out there and didn't come to pit. Unless he doesn't realize that he's missing a wing, but I feel like that would be pretty noticeable.
Yeah. So he's got it here. I wonder. Right here. Oh, that's such a little bit of contact, too. This is just a very simple spin leaving turn 14. Just throttles up and, that's so frustrating.
Yeah, but I would have thought he would have seen, hey, that looks like my front wing.
Yeah,
he's still out there.
It's one of those things that if that part comes off, you're better off going to pit lane to getting it fixed, because staying out on the racetrack, you're just going to lose time.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, it's kind of amazing how much slower you are when you miss that front wing.
Yeah, might not hurt you so bad on the straightaways, but in the corners, it will absolutely destroy you.
I was gonna say, if anything, he'll get slightly less drag on the straightaway. Paul Irvin's slow on the straightaway. I think just letting the leaders on by.
And Silvazzi is in recharge mode here, down into turn 1, chasing Tijn van de Velde for 4th. This is reclosing as we approach. Well, we are on 10 laps to go, so things are going swimmingly for Akabueze out front. He's extended his gap now to 9.6 seconds. Altena straddling with purple on his best lap, but still running 3rd, 1.2 behind Redford. Then it's Van de Velde right out in front of this car we're on board with, Patrick Silvazzi.
I think now we're really going to start to see these guys. They have been very patient with using the overtake. I think now it's starting to get the laps starting to dwindle on down. We're going to see them be maybe a little bit more aggressive, try to set themselves up, especially if you're Patrick Silvazzi or Van de Velde in the 76 and 4th. They have the leader. They have Altena and Redford just directly ahead of them, so they can push maybe a little bit more here, get a little bit closer in that slipstream distance. They can make those attacks, make those charges to get onto the podium.
Yeah, and what you're going to see is the aggression on the overtake system, right? You're calculating so that you've got stuff to use at the end. Now, some drivers might have been aggressive with it early to establish their lead. Others might have saved, a significant portion of that overtake for later in the event. They give you quite a bit. You've got a lot to use. You just, with this long straightaway in particular, you're going to use it all up, 5, 6, 7 laps of straight usage. But I think there's still some that have yet to show their hand with it. Akabueze out front in the number 13.
Yeah,
Road America.
Seconds.
Yeah, he led most of the race at Road America, and it all went away in the last 5 or 6 laps. Today, as long as he keeps it pointed the right direction, looks like this might go a bit better.
Was the lead this big in
Not
Road
quite.
America,
It was closer to 5 seconds, but it was whittled back down by Redford. But then they did a couple side-by-side battles and ended up with Redford slipping at corner exit at turn 5, and then both of them collided and crashed. See, he was just using his overtake as well. You might as well use it up.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's really just for you to use. I mean, unless he's close on the fuel, but even then, might as well use it, make the gap, get that 10 seconds.
And here's what that looks like visualized.
Feels like an eternity in racing time.
Like watching Verstappen.
No, that'll be an entire lap.
Silvazzi's closing in on Van de Velde here. Was he on the overtake button? He was. Closes it down to half a second between himself and that number 76.
I'm really surprised at how these guys have only been using it. They've only been using it for about half the straightaway. And I guess that's probably because they you mentioned it before that with the gearing that they'll get max speed pretty quickly. They tag out around 190 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think part of it might just be, especially leaving the last corner, is wheel spin. You got to give the car a second. You can spin the wheels in third gear in this car, especially if you get up on the curbing. So you might give it a second, and then you run out of gear, I think, is the problem. If you might as well not use it when you're already tacked out, right? I think you can hit the limiter even without the overtake.
I wouldn't be too surprised with it, because considering how long of a straightaway it is. I mean, we were talking about, this being a historic track. Turn 1 used to just be a banked corner, and as long as a straightaway is, and then just going flying into a banked corner. And then at some point, they did realize that was too unsafe, and reprofiled it.
Yeah, so Akabueze was at max velocity for a couple hundred feet before the first corner, so I think that might be why. Once you get up to 175, 180, the maximum I've seen, 184 here by Van de Velde. But I think at that point you're just kind of wasting it when you're already at. I think it's better for acceleration, maybe not so much for top speed. And then once you're there, you might as well cancel the button, right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Inside a driver's mind.
Essentially, it's a game of chess when it comes to using that kind of system, right? Because we see how easy it is to actually make that overtake, but of course with the limitations of it, and that 100-second cooldown, you have to think, okay, if I use it now this lap, I'm going to be vulnerable the next lap.
Yeah,
all these things going through the driver's mind as they're racing at over 150 miles an hour.
This new age of race car, whether it be hybrid or push-to-pass or DRS, I've really come to appreciate the strategic advantage that is given to you, but I prefer this kind of system over something like DRS, which only gives an advantage to the trailing driver. I like that you can use it in defense as well. I think it makes more sense that way, and it really adds another dimension to this racing. But you have to use it like a non-renewable resource. And Silvazzi, within 4/10, has closed his gap further to Van de Velde. They're running out of time though. 6 laps to go this time through. And Silvazzi is closing. Not going to get there. He's out of gear at 191 miles an hour on the run down to turn 1.
And that was, again, without the overtake. That was purely slipstream in from the car in front.
That is fast. I think this is one of the fastest non-F1 Formula cars in iRacing. And it just...
Yeah, I think that's very accurate.
It feels the liveliest of them as well. When you're driving it on track, it feels very light on its feet, where the Dallara IR18 in particular, while it is a very, very fun car to drive, it has a tendency on road courses to feel pretty heavy and understeery, unless you're on power, where this car, it will dance and do whatever you ask it to do, sometimes to your detriment, though.
It's almost, yeah, that's definitely accurate. It's almost too lively to a fault, this car. While the Indy car, you can pretty much almost riff that thing and it'll hang on.
Yeah, you can drive the IR18 sideways, high side and handsome, but this car, gotta be a bit more gentle with it. But Hamilton Akabueze, 5 laps to go out in front here, leading by 10 seconds over Matthew Redford, his nemesis from Road America a couple of weeks ago. And Van de Velde and Silvazzi, here we go again. Van de Velde furiously on the button to try to defend from Silvazzi. This is what we were talking about a moment ago. And Silvazzi's not going to be close enough. Looks out of line, but Van de Velde doesn't go defensive. They're not side by side just yet, but that's time getting on the button just to stay ahead of Silvazzi. I don't know that he would have been able to without using that overtake.
Yeah, that's where you got to, again, as the driver, you got to think when you want to use it. But and the thing is, as the driver, because of the lights in the car, you know when your opponent's using it in defense. And so Van de Velde, he just finished with around 130 seconds left. Silvazzi was just taking a look. He has about 120 seconds left.
That's a lot.
These guys have a lot. They have a lot of, and that's why I've been feeling they've been using it almost a little bit too cautiously. But again, I think they're starting to now they're going to probably have to get more onto it here, especially as Julian Alton. He's now slipped off back. He's lost Red for about 4 seconds up the road.
Watch this from high above. This is Silvazzi in turn 13 here. This is a little bit close to being a cut track penalty. You got to watch out for that. That will get you in trouble. But managed to do it just right and close in on Van de Velde just a bit more. And you mentioned Altena right here. He's going to have to be on fierce defense here these last couple of laps.
And he is not using any push the overtake.
And this is not going to help Silvazzi because now Van de Velde's got draft that he can use in defense as well.
Yeah. So just about 5 minutes remaining here, 4 laps to go for these drivers, and it's starting to kick up. First and second place, they've kind of settled into their own little battles, but it's essentially the battle for that final step on the podium. Julian Altena, Van de Velde, and Patrick Silvazzi all battling it out for that final spot here.
Altena last time by was half a second slower, so you wonder if he's burned up his tires chasing Redford. Now maybe regretting that fight a bit earlier. It's actually funny how this race has played out almost exactly as it did at Road America, save for the late race crash. Okoboese leading Redford second, Altena third, then Van de Velde and Silvazzi inside the top 5. And Sebastian Kinder running 6th where he was at Road America last week as well. So the cream rising to the top here just as we expected.
I actually was looking at Kinder. He was closing in on these guys. Whoa, Silvazzi in the background a little bit sideways out of that last corner. Able to save it and keep his momentum going.
That was not a very good exit onto the front straightaway, and that was a pretty critical time.
He's going to compensate with the overtake. Catch back up. I mean, might as well use it, especially if you got 120 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, it's like the world's ended, and you might as well extract all the oil because you're going to need to use it up. Buy that Jaguar, why not?
And again, these guys can use it. You don't just have to use it when you're on full throttle. Again, the IndyCar pushes past, it disengages as soon as you let off full throttle. For these guys, you can use it the entire lap if you really do wish. And I'm wondering if they're maybe potentially planning on doing so, because it's a possibility. That being said, you have to be even more careful with getting on the throttle.
Yeah, things are getting a bit spicy back here as well. This is John Christensen and Joseph Grijalva. We're battling for 9th place while the battle for 3rd also heats up, so we'll keep our eyes on both of them as best we can. Christensen rebounding after an earlier spin.
Yeah, important battle there. Battle for the final 2 points, being positions 9th and 10th.
And this is going to be a very good run here for Christensen. I don't know that there's much that Grijalva can do to defend this with so much straightaway ahead of him. Sweeps to driver's right. Look at Grijalva, though, on defense on the button. Into the first corner, Christensen on the binders, and
he's still going to lose out.
Wow. A slight little head shake there. Thought he might have been able to defend with that. With the overtake, big sweep to driver's right. Here comes Grijalva around the outside at Coca-Cola curve through 100R. What a pass! Grijalva's not quite clear though. Christensen back down the inside.
This is still not done yet here. Off they go through the left-hander now, heading down to the chicane. Grijalva still there on the right-hand side. Potentially got the better line on through. Christensen is going to potentially have to back out. Maybe has a chance for a crossover. No, he's going to go hard into the outside. Still going to keep side by side.
That was phenomenal. What a rebound there from Grijalva. Christensen is fended off for now. That was unbelievable.
Caught me by surprise. Oh, he went off the track, though. I think that's going to be a slowdown.
Yeah, that was just, where did he come from? Oh, we're going to cut back live because I think they're getting close enough again to keep our eyes on them, especially heading back up onto this front straight. The battle up front has not gotten more exciting. Paul Irvin is off track, but here comes Christensen, Grijalva, and behind them, I think that is a lead lap car. That is the leader, Hamilton Okoboese, who's coming to 1 lap to go. And this will make this a last lap battle for these drivers as well, but just Grijalva, unless he goes a lap down here on this lap.
Yeah, it really depends here if the leader can get on by, and I think with the blue flag rules, they have to let him on by.
Here comes Christensen. Opportunistic dive there, but wasn't able to complete it.
He's only got a couple more quarters now. These guys have 1 lap less to battle with than they probably may have realized that they had, with the leader catching up with them so quickly.
No changes in that battle for 3rd. This is the battle that's the most volatile at the moment. Grijalva and Christensen, a little bit wide there for Grijalva. Christensen's going to tuck it in tight. Here we go again. Last lap battle for the last points paying position.
Well, we may want to look at 3rd place, though. Van de Velde and Silvazzi both on the overtake button. Altena not on it as they continue this fight here for 9th.
That was very tight. Christensen almost had contact there with Grijalva. They're still side by side for position here, and now Christensen is through. All the while, here comes Van de Velde on Altena to driver's left.
He's also gotten over the off the overtake. Silvasi's still on the overtake in behind as he jumps to the curbs. He's coming in hard.
Last couple of corners for the field. Akabueze leads the way in the number 13. At Road America, he was denied a victory in the last 5 laps. Today, though, he will be victorious at Fuji. Hamilton Akabueze wins round 2 of the VOR SF23 series. Redford will come up in second. For third place, it is a fight for position. Altena, Van de Velde, and Silvasi, checkered flag waving in the foreground. I think Altena is going to have to fight this all the way to the checkers. Van de Velde and Silvasi side by side, but Altena, Van de Velde, Silvasi 3, 4, 5.
Whew, some great battles there at the end.
Wow. There's John Christensen wrapping things up there. And Joseph Grijalva. It was Christensen that ended up winning that battle. Was there any late dramas between these two?
There was a car that spun off. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
or
so
who it was.
here's a look at it. There's Grijalva. Oh, he just lost it coming to the checkers.
That was Grijalva.
And ended up finishing in 12th, just a couple hundred yards short of the start-finish line.
Yeah, that was him. The reason he spun, he was on the overtake. And again, you get that extra power. You have to be very careful with coming on the exit. Unfortunately, he spun out.
Yeah. Grijalva comes home 11th. That will be a frustrating way to end that race after a really exciting battle. Let's go back one more time and watch that between Grijalva and Christensen as they came through the first corner. I don't think we expected the rebound there by Grijalva through Coca-Cola curve. He's going to see this opportunity open on driver's right here and slings to the outside. Woo. And they managed to go through here side by side. This was a great fight.
Definition of give a driver an inch, they'll take a yard. Absolutely went for it and kept in it. This is just purely, this is really showing what Fuji can put on. Some great side-by-side battling between these two.
Yeah, then it came all the way down to the hairpin here at Dunlop curve. Here, look at how late on the brakes Christensen got here. This has got very tight right here. Christensen had to back out, but ultimately was able to go on and grab the last points paying position.
And unfortunately for Grijalva with his crash, he finished in 11th, so he will not get any points.
Oh, that is a frustrating way to end it. Here's a look, though, at your race results. Hamilton Akabueze gets it done here this week after coming up short at Road America. Matthew Redford, Julian Altena back on the podium. Titan Van de Velde and Patrick Silvasi 4th and 5th, Finian.
Yeah, and then you have Sebastian Kinder finishing distantly in 6th place. Mateus Strauss, Craig Forsyth, John Christensen, and Adam Capps rounding out your top 10.
And looking down the rest of the field here, Joseph Grijalva, we mentioned the heartbreak there in the closing moments, but Jonathan Diggs, we didn't really talk a lot about him today, quietly running in 12th place. Paul Irvin, a couple of spins, ended up in pit lane at the very tail end, and Cedric Holmbaum never started the race, although he was here earlier for practice. Mauro Ramirez out with a bit of a crash earlier in the race. But all in all, very exciting at the tail end. Bit of a lull there in the middle, but they put on a show at the end, as they did last week at Road America.
Yeah, and again, this is everyone just being more cautious, more patient, just waiting till the end, knowing that they have that overtake to work with, and then putting everything out on the line for that last few laps and the charge.
Well, we've got our third place runner, Julian Altena, who brought it home in 3rd today after winning at Road America, P3 here at Fuji. Julian, congratulations on another podium. Be a good points day for you, but there were some decent battles up front. Things got very exciting behind you at the end, but you were able to cling to P3. Take us through your day.
Yeah, it was a little uneventful for me, to be honest. I calculated the fuel to be enough, and I miscalculated it by 1 liter. So I had to save a bit of fuel, so did Tijn and all the guys on my team. But yeah, it wasn't a big handicap, but definitely cost me a shot at P2 today, which is unfortunate. But Hamilton drove a great race. And yeah, like you said, the battles behind me looked interesting. I'm just glad I wasn't in it.
Yeah, as far as carrying on the season goes, it seems like Hamilton and Matthew are both very capable drivers at the front. What is it going to take to beat them? We saw last week that they took each other out, but maybe in the future you're going to have to just outrace them the old-fashioned way.
I think consistency goes a long way, to be honest, which Road America showed as well. Like I knew something would happen back then. Whether it was one or both, I knew one of them would have some issues, and I think something similar could happen later on. I hope it doesn't, but yeah, consistency goes a long way, as I said. So just keeping the car on the podium every week is going to be the goal. And if it's not a podium, it's going to be a top 5. That is the goal. So, yep.
Well, Julian, congratulations on a P3. Job well done. Good points day, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you, and also thanks to Mauro again for putting in the funds to secure these broadcasts, and thanks to you guys for the raceway for sponsoring the league, and also my team, I guess, a little bit by sponsoring the league. So thanks to those people, and love you to my girlfriend. All right, see you next week.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks, Julian. All right, Finian, I just realized we're in the wrong broadcast booth, so let's jump down to the Super Formula One so we can pick up the other one. All right. Well, okay, now that that's solved, I was wondering where everybody was, and Matt Redford brings it home in second. Matt, sorry, we were in the wrong booth. I didn't know that there was another one, to be honest, but here we are. Second place today, kind of where you belonged after Road America, such a strong run there that didn't end the way you were hoping. Take me through your day in trying to run down Hamilton, but just able to outrun Julian in time late in the going there.
I'm not the biggest fan of this track, so I was like... And last week with the incident with Hamilton, I was like, right, I'm not like reenacting that, so I just sort of stayed in my own lane, kept my own race, as you said, where I belonged. I knew Hamilton was quicker, but even so, it took me 5 laps before I even had any confidence in the tires. So, like after 5 laps, I finally managed to like run down Julian, and then it was just a case of slowly edging out the gap.
Yeah.
And by that time, Hamilton was already he buggered off.
It seemed like this racetrack very different than Road America. Road America is very point and shoot. This racetrack has a lot of high-speed corners and things where you have to lean on the downforce. How different is it in the cockpit to race at a place like Road America with this car versus a place that might be designed for this car in a way, but also you're just having to rely so much more on that invisible force, downforce?
Yeah, I like it's a Japanese racing series, so this is like the home. Especially, I think it is the home of Toyota, actually.
Yeah.
It's where they test all their cars. But the car doesn't feel like it belongs here. Like, there's too much torque out the corners, especially in the last sector. There's like 10 corners on this track, and I only like 2 of them. And that's like fast kink left, and then, was it like 160R or something? But those are the only 2 corners which I actually like on this track. So Road America is great because it's so flowing and rapid, and the braking zones, you can use a downforce to bring it in. And, you know, I had a lot more confidence there, which is why I was able to fight Hamilton briefly. But here it was just my 100% of my thoughts were like, just do not spin this car. So I wasn't really able to extract everything.
Well, you didn't spin. You were able to come home in second and notch in a pretty good points day. Matt, congratulations on a P2, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, lads. Cheers for the broadcast.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. And Hamilton Akabueze brings it home in victory lane here at Fuji. Maybe a week later than you were hoping after the dramas at Road America, but today, no dramas, a 12-second advantage. You look like Max Verstappen out there. What's the secret to Fuji?
I mean, for a lot of the race, I was fighting for my life with the car. Like, it's just so slick, and through, especially Sector 3, with like all the elevation change and everything, just the car gets so loose. But, I mean, this was I think the first track this car went to when it got released, so I had raced it a bunch that week, and it's pretty fun, like racing here, but it's always, just really difficult.
And that was something that Matt mentioned as well, is that while this car is almost designed to race here, it doesn't feel like it in some instances where you're skidding around so much, and it differed a lot from Road America. But once you were able to get out front, how comfortable were you able to get, especially when you didn't have any pressures from behind?
I'd say I was, I was pretty comfortable, you know. I didn't have to worry about anyone going for a move, just chilling. I was still trying to push, you know, go as fast as I can. And so it's more just fighting myself to not wreck the car, I guess. But yeah, just chilling a bit, trying not to, like, you know, wreck myself out of the lead, for sure.
Well, Hamilton, congratulations. Job well done today, and best of luck to you next week. Good points day and sweep up a win early in the season. So congrats to you in Indy Alliance Racing.
Thank you.
All right, Finney, that's going to wrap things up here from Fuji. We were treated to some pretty interesting racecraft today, especially at the very tail end there in that battle for ninth in particular. What do we learn about Fuji and this racetrack? Well, it seems like it's very, very slick and maybe not everyone's favorite. But despite that, we saw some really solid racing.
It's a very tricky track. It's a very technical track, but again, when you can get it right, it becomes a fantastic track. And it puts on some great racing. We saw guys able to make moves all race long, and again, that battle for 9th and 10th, fantastic stuff from these drivers. And also, overall, very clean race. I don't even think we've seen any car-to-car contact, so great job from everyone.
Yeah, no car-to-car contact this time around, which is always great to see. So that'll wrap up round 2 here of the Velocity Online Racing SF23 series. Thanks for joining us here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Well, hopefully it's beautiful wherever you are. It is cold outside. Feels like negative 24 Fahrenheit outside here in Chicago. I'm sure it's similar where Finning is in Long Island. But thanks to all. We'll see you next week from Velocity Online Racing. I'm Kyle Heyer with Finning and Nakuna. We'll see you next time.